Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, an authentic football fan channel made in Manchester. Fucking Jesus Christ. I don't even know where that's come from. I'm so ill and tired that my brain isn't working. It's pros and cons, basically. A show where we pick at the positives and nag at the negatives. Usually, this is a solo show, but I am joined today by Mr. Shreyas Singh. So, yeah, just let's start with a bit of a recap. A bit of a reality check is what I've put in the title. Losing 2-0 at the Emirates. Just give us a kind of small, brief, just your thoughts on it, Shreyas.
Yeah, I mean, I was up till like 4 a.m. to see the game in its entirety because
God bless you.
I actually wanted to see how we would fare up against Arsenal, to be very honest, because I wanted to see, to what level and up against a quality opposition, how much can we hold up. So I wouldn't say I'm completely disappointed. I was actually glad in a couple of departments with the way we expressed ourselves on the pitch, with the way we held ourselves to the first goal as well. But I don't think Arsenal did anything completely out of the out of the blue or something completely incredible on the pitch. I think most of their attacks we were able to fend them off. I think our defense was decent enough in order to fend off their central attackers. I think they had a good grip on Saka as well for most of the game. Malacia did an I would say an all right job. Coming up against Saka after such a long spell of injury, it is hard for any player. And then you come up against one of the most quality right wingers which are present on right now in the Premier League on form as well. And I think he did a good job there. But yes, apart from that, conceding 2 goals off corners and then losing feels harsh with the way that game actually went, because it was quite even. I think when it went, when the game came to the attacking third, we were lackluster. I think creativity wise, and when it came to just maintaining our composure in certain elements when we got the ball near the box, I think that's where we struggled. But apart from that, if you look at our centre backs, I think Mazraoui was once again very good when it came to counter pressing and actually, playing the ball out from the back. He was very, very good in there. Arsenal tried to counter press and press Onana, Delict, and when YORO came on as well, they tried the same with him. But all of them did a very good job when it came to getting the ball out from the back. And I think this is the first time we didn't concede a goal against a top 6 team while playing the ball out from the back. So that's a very good thing. And I think midfield was a bit imbalanced. I think Bruno was trying to make up for a lot of issues in that midfield, but playing deep is not his best area.
We'll get on to that. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. But yes, apart from that, mostly I'm glad because I think this team needed this sort of a game, and Amorim needed this sort of a game as well. But I think there are more positives to actually take out from it, because what I'm glad about is the negatives that are there. They are supposed to be there right now. With a new manager coming in, with a new philosophy coming in, they are supposed to be there. It will take some time for things to actually click. It will take some minutes in the legs of Højlund, in the legs of other attackers as well, for this fluidity to come in the final third. But defensively, I think we were quite good.
I don't think it was realistic, was it, to say we're going to go there and win convincingly?
Yeah.
And actually, for 60 minutes, we frustrated them. We shut the crowd up. But unfortunately, like I said on the review last night, they had more corners than a geometry textbook. So at some point, when you give them 13, 14 corners, they're going to score, a couple, which they did. And we struggled with them because the delivery is just right on the money with them, and it's almost impossible to defend. But we're here for the positives and negatives, and we always start off with the negatives. And one of the first things I had on there, Shreyas, was all bark, no bite, no threat up top whatsoever. So Garnacho, Mount, and Rasmus Højlund. I look at Højlund at the minute, and I'm not absolutely. I don't know what you think, but I'm not absolutely convinced he can start game out for us just yet.
I think it'll take some time, to be very honest. I think he's still very young. I think it'll with the new formation and new ideology that is being coming up in this team as well, and we have to say this as well, it is a very turbulent attack. There is no consistency in our front three. It is chopping and changing every single time with the players that even Højlund, and in fair play, even to Xerxes. They don't know who they're going to be playing up with, whether it's going to be Rashford and Mount, whether it's going to be Rashford and Bruno or Garnacho, or maybe Ahmad comes up there and accumulates that half space at certain moments. So it will take some time for that to happen. And the thing with Højlund is, when it comes to his hold-up play, it can be questionable.
His
I
first
think,
touch is questionable.
yeah. But there are certain moments where, when it comes to playing in, I think there were 3 or 4 opportunities where he played Garnacho in on the left hand side, and Garnacho just had to, stretch out the play, move the ball out wide, but he was just not able to ping the ball back in. He had to, move the ball backwards, and by that time, against a team like Arsenal and how organized they are, every single space gets accumulated. So I think it will take some time, especially in the attacking department, because I still think that I think Ahmad, fits like a glove in that position. I think Bruno too. But the other players that we've got at the moment, Garnacho will take some time to actually get familiarized with that position, because with the way that he's been playing since he's come up under Ten Hag, it is very, very different now that the position that he's been given to play in. And right now he doesn't fit in there with the in that number 10 position, where you don't really have to stretch the play as much. You have got someone like Dalu who's supposed to do the job. Garnacho's job in there is to play Højlund in, or to switch up the play or to the right hand side, which I think in a couple of occasions Malacia did quite well, Bruno did quite well, Ugarte as well grew into the game as the minutes went by. So in that department we were quite okay. But in that attacking side, I think one thing, I think it will happen in the upcoming games as well. It will take some time for us to actually start creating chances on the get-go, for whether it's going to be Højlund, whether it's going to be Rashford, or even if it's going to be Xerxes. But once we actually start giving service to these strikers, at least 3 to 4 chances per game, I think that's when I can make a fair assessment on these guys, because we can even have Victor Gyökeres in this team right now, and even he would struggle, because I can only judge them once they're getting chances. When they're not getting chances, we need to be nitpicking at them.
I think when you're setting up in a certain way, if you're going to set up like that when you go away, let's say when you travel to the Etihad or to the Emirates or Anfield, right? I have no issue with that. But like Brentford do, let's say, for example, where they play with a back five, they have Visser and Burno and then Tony when he was there, who will do the job at the other end of the pitch if they get given the chance. That's what I'm worried about. Even with Sporting against City, which I also referenced last night, Trincao, Goncalves and Gyökeres, when they got that ball against City, they was running him ragged a little bit. So I want to see more of that. I just expected a bit more of a threat. I suppose it doesn't help though, Shreyas, when you have subs who come on, this is another kind of negative. When you're looking to change a game, when it is tight, when there's not much going on, and they come on and they're way too hot and cold. All 3 of them, Antony, Xerxes, Rashford, each individual. I mean, what Antony did off that free kick, well worked, and it outside of the foot, straight at the keeper. You're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Any other attacker in that position would have buried that chance, because he was completely one-on-one with the keeper. He was genuinely completely one-on-one with the keeper. None of the Arsenal defenders were even in place. All he had to do was just bury it in the back of the net. And this, I would say, in the entirety of the game, even take Arsenal's corners out of the equation, that was the best chance that was created in that game.
Yeah. Or he even could have, do you know then when you smack it across the box?
He could have played it in. Yeah.
He could have fizzed it across there. It's decision making. It's the little nuanced things like the touches at times, or the passes, just not enough power on it, or overhit. Rashford walking, kick it out for a corner, which was naive, which he ended up scoring from. That's the. I know consistency has been an issue with United for a while, hasn't it? But when you're coming on in that game, you want someone to change the game. The talent level that they're on paper that they're regarded as, it's quite an expensive bunch, and they're not doing anything. Maybe not Antony. I mean, you can exclude Antony from that, but I'm just saying, like, you see one performance against Everton, it's very Jekyll and Hyde, isn't it? Where Xerxes scores 2, Rashford scores 2, and then they come on in the game and they look more tired than the players that were on the pitch when they came on. So I just thought they had a shocking cameo. And it's weird because you look at the bench and you're like, it looks like quite good depth. We've got options. Obviously, YORO did well, and there was others, and we'll get into those. But for me, them 3 last night were shit, Shreyas.
They were. And I think if we would have, I think there was an opportunity after that first goal that Arsenal scored off the corner. If we would have leveled then, the game could have gone anyway. Yeah. Genuinely could have gone anyway. And I just think that we are still like a couple of months away from actually seeing that fluidity from our 3. We genuinely do. I think we might see improvements game after game after game, or maybe we see a slump in some, in there somewhere. But it will take a good 2 to 3 months for these players to get there. And I think once we, after those 2 3 months, I think Amorim needs to, and I would even say, he needs to choose who he needs to play behind Hoyland or Xerxes in those 2 10s, because right now Garnacho is not cutting it in that position. He's genuinely not cutting it. He's very sloppy when it comes to advancing the ball and progressing through a central line. He's not able to do that. Every single time he drags the ball out wide, and I know that he's an out and out winger, but that's not the job in that formation, because once he takes the ball out and Dallo has to come in centrally, Dallo cannot do that job in that advanced position. He's someone who can actually stretch out the play, but he cannot move the ball centrally. So I think Garnacho needs to step up. And apart from that, I think Amorim needs to maybe give Mount and Bruno a go in those 2 10 positions, like a couple of games, 2 to 3 games, and actually see how they can fare up.
Is that enough pace though, do you think, in that forward line with those two?
I think when it comes
that'd be my only concern with that.
Pace could be an issue, but considering the way we set up and considering the way Mount actually, occupies positions in those half areas, I don't think pace would be as much of an issue. Because when you've got someone like Hoyland just moving across the lines and you just need to play him in, I think that actually, that problem actually just goes out of the picture mostly. I think pace becomes much more of an issue when you're trying to hit every single team on the counter. Yeah. And right now, I don't think we are playing like a counter pressing team. We are playing much more. I think we are playing better in that way because we see a different ideology than to what we saw under Ten Hag or what we saw even under Oli. But it will take some time.
Some interesting comments coming in. There's more and more people joining the chat as well, so do get your opinions in. We're going through pros and cons right now. Random guy saying, with fully available squad, we will put up a better fight against Arsenal. Bruno is an attacking midfielder. He can do a job in a deeper role. He doesn't fit there. Hold that thought because he's next up on the negative list. Charlie Malman saying, been saying it, time to cash in on Garnacho and move him on. He will never be it at United. That is very strong. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
It will take him some time. I'm not sure that if he's never going to be good enough for United, but
he's still 20, and I think he's got the most goals for us, or most goal contributions so far this season, or certainly up there. So I think we need to calm down a little bit on that. But obviously, everyone's entitled to their opinion. All right, Bruno Fernandes is next up on the list in that deeper role, as random guy was alluding to there, Shreyas. First half, I actually didn't think it was too bad. I thought he was okay. He was moving about, kicking it, keeping it simple defensively, doing a job where we needed to touch tight to Ødegaard or whoever it was. But then the second half, you see the other side of Bruno Fernandes, where it's back to the difficult passing, losing his discipline, chasing balls, being, beat physically on the ball as well. When you watch that performance, does that solidify in your head more that, I think it's Mainu needs to be a permanent in there rather than Bruno, and then push Bruno up further rather than trying to accommodate for Garnacho or Mount?
I think the moment they scored that first goal, Bruno lost his head. Yeah. Like, genuinely, he could see it in his face that he's pissed off, because I think a lot of fans were pissed off as well, because it felt really unfair the way they actually scored the goal. But you need to maintain your composure, especially when you're coming up against the top sides. And if you're not able to do that job, it is going to cost you. And that's what happened against Arsenal. I think Mainu in that position is more natural. I think he's much more comfortable as well. And Mainu and Ugarte, I think both complement each other really well.
Yeah.
Ugarte is very physical. Ugarte, the way he is able to recover the ball every single time, he can cause a lot of issues to opposition's attackers. And Mainu, with the way he progresses with the ball, the kind of vision he has, and his technical ability on the ball, every single area fits right well when you have to, look at him as an 8. I think as a 10, Bruno can do a lot of damage, but you need to give him consistent minutes there. I know that Bruno can do a job as an 8 or even as a 6, but you need to. I think it is time that we start seeing some consistency in positioning in this team. And I don't know whether it's Ahmad as a right wing back is the future, but even if it is, then just maintain that consistency in the upcoming games, because it's going to be a tough fixture list that is going to be coming up for us. And like you've mentioned a lot of times as well, 2 games or 3 games, if we win them in a row, our positioning completely changes, because it's still a very tight league.
We're going to get on to the last negative in a moment, but just a quick throwaway question, and this is a question to the chat as well. If, and we put this out on Twitter before, if this is a trial in front of Ruben what he's doing, this kind of pre-season rotational thing. Who has passed the trial and who has significantly failed the trial so far? Give me, let's say, 3 players each. Try to keep it short if you can.
Ahmad, Onana, Mount, Mazraoui, De
Ligt, really good yesterday. I don't think enough people spoken about him. Really, really good.
He went under the radar yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know why. I should have had him on the positives, to be fair to him. So apologies, Mateus, but he was really good.
Very unlucky not to get a goal.
Who's failing so far the trial for this system?
Garnacho, Eriksen, Rashford. Rashford, I'm 50. I won't say he's completely failing, but he's 50-50. He's very, very on the border at the moment. None of the others have actually played. So even I think Dallo and Rashford fall in the same category for me.
Yeah. Okay. Right, on to the last negative. A reality check for Ruben. Look, if there was anyone who was getting carried away with the recent results, I think that was just a reminder last night that there is still quite a lot of work to be done. We're still finding our best 11. And I think the actual result reflected a fair assessment on where both teams are at. I mean, Arsenal, with their progression and evolution under Arteta, are 5-6 years into it at this point, I think. You know, Ruben Amorim's been here a couple of weeks. So looking at that game in isolation, you can kind of say, well, you know, had that been under Ten Hag, it would have been chaotic. I'm sure Saka would have got a couple. I'm sure we would have lost 4 or 5.
It wouldn't have just been corners that we would have conceded off.
Yeah. I came away from that game looking at him like, I think we need a striker. I think we need a wing back. And I think we potentially need a midfielder as well. Like a certain profile. Would you agree? Or
I think we need someone on the bench who can be as good as Mainu and Ugarte.
Yeah.
To start. I think we need someone who can get up there. I think as a wing back, I think we need a left wing back. Right wing back, I'm still quite certain that, you know, we push Mazraoui on there and most of our issues are already solved.
Yeah.
Genuinely. So, and I think once YORO is ready to get some minutes, maybe we see Lisandro and De Ligt and YORO actually starting off as that 3 centre-back partnership. But I think a left wing back is very, very important for us moving into the next season. I think someone to fill in for Ugarte or whether it is Kobe Mainu needs to come in. So that's 2 players. Striker, the thing is, if you want to get in a striker, you need to offload one as well. So, and I wouldn't say that just a striker. I would say a winger as well. That's 2. I think we need to get another winger in as well. Because Bruno can be good. Mount can be good as well. Ahmad can be good as well. But you need another figure in there. Genuinely, you need another figure in there.
Kvaratskhelia by any chance?
If he comes in, the game completely changes. Because if everyone who actually follows him, especially, you know, in the Serie A league, the kind of impact he has in that Napoli team is similar to what Cole Palmer has at Chelsea.
Yeah.
So he's someone, and he can function as a striker, he can function as a winger, as a 10, and he's quality in every single one of those positions.
Be nice if we could just go and buy Cole Palmer, really, wouldn't it, to be fair?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
But, you know, it's not, the world isn't full of rainbows and unicorns. Now, you mentioned Ugarte there, and he's actually the first one on the positives. I thought he was a midfield monster last night. I thought he was really, really good. Completed 100% of his dribbles and tackles, 91% passing accuracy, really neat and tidy on the ball when we needed it, intelligent in important areas. And just, I thought his overall game, he's getting better and better from when he first came in. And he weren't even really playing. It's a shock, innit, when you see him now.
Any player in that midfield would have failed. You get Rodri into that midfield, he would have failed. So, I think in this system, and yesterday as well, I didn't notice Declan Rice as much yesterday. Genuinely, I didn't
apart from the corner.
As much.
That you got the assist for, but
but you didn't genuinely notice him. And a lot of credit for that needs to go to Ugarte. And the thing with him that I like the most is his intensity doesn't change for the entirety of the 90 minutes. He's there for every single ball. And one thing that I would say that he's worked on as well, once he actually gets the ball back, he knows how to actually, you know, pass out the ball to Mazraoui or whether it is to, you know, Dallo. out wide, and that is something that was missing in his game because he used to win the ball back and he used to give it away in the first few games of the season. So he's worked on in that department, which is really good. And I think I think with Bruno he did a decent job in the first half as well. I think in the second half he had to make up for a lot more because Bruno was very off positioned at certain moments. But I think once we get Manu in and that partnership blossoms a lot more, they get more used to each other playing as the two eights. I think both of them can do a lot of damage. And Ugarte, once again, he's also very young. He's not some 27 or 28-year-old player. So he is someone, and Manu is someone you can build this team around.
You touched on Rice there, and I think Ugarte is going to turn into a big game player like these kind of Rice, Valverde's, you know, these kind of guys in the midfield where you can rely on him in a big away game at Man City, or, you know, I think that's why he's going to be hugely important and hugely significant. And he was man of the match for me last night. He would have got a lot more praise, I guarantee it. Had we won the game yesterday, people would be talking about him in a completely different light. But because we lost, naturally, as a collective, fans think that everyone was poor and no one had a good game and all that kind of stuff. But it's not true, because I thought De Ligt and Ugarte were really good.
The result, I think sometimes that, you know, we've said a lot of times as well that the scoreline doesn't tell the whole story. I think yesterday's game falls into that category as well.
This is why we do pros and cons, because you can discuss both sides of it. That's why it's important. YORO, Shreyas, very promising cameo, in my opinion. I heard him described, I was listening to something before, described as an octopus when it got into the 18-yard box, which I think I quite liked. Obviously, we and he had to wait a while, but it was worth it, wasn't it?
Oh, yes. And I'm glad that he finally got some minutes in. I was very excited to actually see him, especially in this formation as well. And you can see the kind of balance he brings. You can see his confidence as well. You know, considering this was pretty much his debut for United, and he was coming up against an Arsenal team which was leading 2-0, and coming up against Saka, coming up against the likes of Martinelli, he did a very good job. And I think once we see De Ligt and Martinez alongside him, I think De Ligt, Martinez, and YORO can be a very, very good partnership, because YORO, with the kind of distribution he's got, with the kind of recovery pace that he's got in a lot of occasions as well, he makes up for a lot of issues that we've got in that department.
Helps you press higher up the pitch as well, doesn't it, when you've got pace in your back line?
Yep. And I think he can help us actually, you know, play much more of a higher line, because De Ligt as a central figure is exceptional in a back three. So I think you can press even higher and be a lot more carefree when you're moving around with the ball and trying to hit teams. So YORO, I think a lot of fans expect a lot from him, but I think yesterday's cameo against a team like Arsenal, I think he put a lot of minds at ease that once he's in, he's going to be able to dislodge the likes of Shaw or someone else out of this team.
There was a lot of rumours wanting that he was going to start yesterday, which I was like, I'm happy for him, but I had that thing in the back of my mind, and I was speaking about this on the radio yesterday, that, you know, he's just come back. I know he's been in training for a while and they've been doing it methodically, but it's a big game to throw someone in straight from the start to test the fitness. I'm glad they brought him on in the way they did. And you look at his cameo, 100% aerial duels won, 86% pass accuracy, 75% ground duels won, 3 tackles won, 2 passes into the final third, and 2 clearances for, you know, to be on the pitch for, what was it, 20 minutes or something? I can remember. I think he's going to become a regular in this side, and I really, really do. And that helps implement, this is the last positive, an idea which is starting to appear slightly. I think shape, build up, patterns, defensive block, all starting to be evident, which people can start to at least attach themselves onto as a fan and say, right, this is what we're trying, this is where we're going, these are the kind of players that we need. But the issue is, Shreyas, he's not got enough time to train these players, so we're kind of doing it on the job.
I think, yes. I think it will. I think he's doing the best he can. And I understand why he's giving minutes to all of these players, because for any manager coming in, he needs to figure out his strongest 11. And I think at least until Christmas, we're going to be seeing this chopping and changing after every single game. It will take some time for us to see a consistent starting 11 playing week in and week out. So till then, I think a lot of fans need to develop a thick skin. You might see 4-0, you might see 2-1 wins, you might even see 2-0 or 3-0 losses in this time period where we see a lot of experimenting, but I think it will be worth it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure with the way things are looking right now, and especially, with the way we have actually played up against Arsenal, I think in the next 3 to 4 games we might be able to take a lot of points in, because I think at least against City we need to carry as much momentum as we possibly can, because City aren't in the best shape as well right now. They are very inconsistent. They're a very up and down team at the moment. So sometimes one of those results against the big teams, they can just completely boost the morale of the team. So if we are able to do that till that City game, you never know where this team can actually shift to by the time New Year kicks in.
You're going to need the key cogs like you touched on before in that system, aren't you? Your De Ligt, your Majraris, Ahmad Onana, UGARTE. Keep those in, and then hopefully we can start to find some consistency with the others. Manu playing some more minutes and finding the front three that finally clicks. Because that's one thing I'm still not sure at the minute. I don't know who should definitely be our front three. Don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Genuinely. That's the issue. So Amrin has to work that out. And we've got a couple of games to do
that. At least defense we know. At least defense and midfield we still know.
Yeah. You kind of like, okay, Manu, Garte would probably be the best combination. Back three, I would say YORO, De Ligt, and Martinez it'll have to be. I still have my initial little concerns.
Would you keep Mazraoui there or shift him out as a wing back?
I'd like Mazraoui there, Like Mazraoui there. So I would actually probably go YORO, De Ligt, and Mazraoui. That's what I would probably do. Ahmad at wing back, left wing back, and the front three is a conversation for me personally. See what happens there. But yeah, I think we broke down nearly everything there in the game pretty much. We've got Gamer TV saying, guys, I don't mean to be pessimistic, but I don't think Garnacho and Rashford will survive. They're intense, but not the level the boss demands. Very interesting. There's a few people going in on Garnacho today. I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Andy Williams.
I think Rashford is in much more danger at the moment in comparison to Garnacho.
Yeah.
I think Garnacho is still young, so Amorim might be able to mold something out of him because he's still young. Rashford is not at that stage now where he can, change his game about, change his profile completely about. He's not at that point. So I think Rashford will be the first one to go if it comes to it.
Yeah, I weren't happy with his levels yesterday when he came on. Lumen saying, why are you not talking about Bruno? If you had watched from the start, we literally did a full section on Bruno Fernandes not being prolific in the deeper role, but obviously you just tuned in. Andy's saying that front line needs a lot of changes. Quality isn't there, and this development plan ain't good enough. We have enough young players. Z saying we should be able to beat City. Come on, guys. It's all you can eat. Etihad at the moment. Don't care if they beat Forest. They were poor. Very interested. Yeah, look, I'm not getting ahead of myself. We'll just take it step by step at the moment. I think we have Victoria. Yeah, we got Forest on the weekend. We've got Victoria Pleasing, I think, on Thursday night, which you would think you should go there and be winning. But then you're travelling and then you play Forest. It could get a little bit tricky there. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know, but Forest are starting to decline slightly in a minute. They've lost a couple of games, but having said that, they lost to Arsenal 3-0 and they got beat by City 3-0. Yeah. So two really good teams near the top of the table, which, Marcus Charlie saying performance was encouraging, but the lack of quality was glaring. Too many deadwood still roaming. Rashford in trouble, in my opinion, and Garnacho not far behind. I think that's everyone's saying that in a minute, aren't they? Everyone. Been mentioning Garnacho since we got the manager. Not everyone will fit. I love the player. That is why I want to see him move out to a place where he can do well and help fund the players we need. How much would you get for Garnacho, do you think, now? And I'm not asking that because I want to get rid of him, but I'm just saying, out of curiosity, if we was to sell him right now, how much do you think we'd get?
I think 40-45 million at least.
I think more.
I'm saying at least because with the way we've been offloading players and at the prices that we've been offloading players, I'm just trying to be realistic because I don't remember the last time United sold a player and it was upwards of 70 mil. Even though I think Garnacho could fall into that category because he's very young, the kind of skill set that he's got at this age is completely crazy. And if you can just see the highlight goals of his career so far, he's got practically some of the best in the
that old red kick added 10 million onto his fucking price immediately. But
but I think he falls at least 40 to 60 million. I think he definitely falls in that category for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'd be clubs who would be interested in him. I don't know. I think I probably agree with what Andy's just saying. He said I think I need Garnacho needs to be benched and coached 1-to-1. I think use him as an impact player at the moment. I would say because he's really good off the bench. Obviously rotate him, put him into like European games and stuff like that. But then it's like, well, who starts there if it's not Garnacho? Who goes there?
I think Bruno goes there. That's all.
So Bruno, Højlund,
and
who?
Mount.
Yeah, I mean, in the next game, we're probably going to see a shitload of rotation again. So hopefully, we're eventually going to find some combination that works and be like, right, that's the front three.
The thing with Højlund just is that when he's scoring, he looks like one of the very best in the business. Like when he's on it, it looks like there's no one pretty much better than him.
I say that about every player though, innit? When they're on it, we are a lot of players very hot and cold. I looked at that performance against Everton and I was like, Xerxes, Rashford, 2 goals each. I'm like, okay, let's continue. Let's keep everyone scoring and keep everyone happy.
I think Rashford was a big letdown. I think Rashford was genuinely a big letdown in that game because you would expect him to come up because against Rashford is someone who's not that consistent, but at least against those big teams, he always ends up getting a goal. When I think yesterday with the body language that he came on, it just looked completely off.
Do you think it was because he didn't start?
I don't know. Maybe it could be, but I don't think.
I'm not saying that's an excuse, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but still, I think even if he started, I don't expect that the scoreline or the impact would have been completely different. I think it would have been much more similar. And I think in that game, you needed Mount. Genuinely needed Mount.
Interesting. Against a good centre-back, Højlund looks like a championship player. I'm with you, honestly.
He is. Yeah.
I'm a bit worried about Højlund at the moment. I think his first touch is so... I know I say it all the time, but it's so bad. Honestly, you could go back in the past couple of games when he has played... Yeah. And you can clip it up how many times it gets played into him, and it just ricochets off him. He does not have no kind of soft, delicate touch about him.
He struggles against the physical centre backs as well.
And when he's wrestling all the time, you're like
last season as well. I think in the Champions League when we came up against Bayern, and he was up against Upamecano and Kim Min-jae, he struggled a lot.
Yeah, and Van Dijk and Konate as well. He really struggled against.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's another great point. Andy smashed him out of the park today. Said Isaac was the same price. Look at the difference.
Isaac is a baller.
That goal he scored yesterday was fucking unbelievable. Against Van Dijk, Guimaraes played it into him, dropping the shoulder, absolute rocket in the top corner. The issue is with Isaac, he's got injury problems at the minute.
Yeah.
He's always out for weeks at a time. But fully fit.
What crazy is, even though he's out for weeks, he still manages to get you 20 to 25 goals per season.
Yeah.
So he's very good. He's genuine. I think Newcastle paid their money's worth when they got Isaac in. And if he moves on to, if he moves on next season, I think United should be keeping tabs on him.
Yeah, a phenomenal player. But yeah, big talent. But look, we'll leave it there. We've got, obviously, we play Victoria Pleasant on Thursday and Forest on the weekend, but we've got a load of stuff in between coming up as well. So if you don't follow us on socials yet, all the handles are in the bottom right-hand side of your screen: Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Loads of reels and news stories and funny clips and all that kind of stuff. So please do drop us a follow on there. Also, hit that subscribe button. We're on 8,631 subs. So if you can click the button in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, that'd be amazing. And leave a like for us on your way out. But yeah, apart from that, hopefully United didn't ruin your day too much by losing yesterday. But progress, we build. And let's just take it into the next game and see what it's got in store for us on the Thursday. So thank you to Shreyas for joining me on Pros and Cons. Really appreciate it because my throat's struggling at the minute. And yeah, me and Shreyas will see you guys in the next one. See you later.